Obsessions can drive people to do some crazy things. Imagine what it can do to a Witcher. Ivar Evil-eye was one of the first Witchers. He might not have been as old as someone like Erland of Larvik, but he was among those created in the first few decades. When Ivar was mutated, he endured the mutations surprisingly well, and was set up by the mages to be further enhanced. Out of all those that were supposed to undergo this process, only Ivar survived. But the mutations were only partially completed. This resulted in one of his eyes looking different, giving him his nickname, Evil-eye. But this eye didn't just look different, it showed him things that others couldn't see. He saw a different world. He could see the spiral, and he could see how the Wild Hunt kidnapped, killed and conquered. This vision stuck with him. He wanted to end their threat, which turned into his obsession. Ivar, presumably, was among the Witchers that sided with Nilfgaard during his confrontation with the Order. I assume that he went with him to the Emerald Mountains and became one of the Witchers of the School of the Bear. What we know for certain is that a few years after the creation of the School of the Bear, there was a betrayal led by Ivar Evil-eye. He wanted to specialize the school to fight the Wild Hunt. Nilfgaard didn't see what he had envisioned, and in the following fight, Ivar and those that believed in his ideas almost killed the founder of the School of the Bear. Ivar and his followers left, and he founded the School of the Viper in the strongholds of Gwent. The Vipers kept the location of their school very hidden, and all that the other schools knew was that it was somewhere south of Yaruga. The castle itself was surrounded by a moat that was said to be several hundreds of feet deep. The only entrance to the keep was a bridge, being guarded by a tower around which a stone viper statue was twisted. For decades, centuries even, the school collected information on the Wild Hunt. They specialized in poisons and stealth, in the hope that one day they could take down the hunt, to end their reign of terror. Ivar Evil-eye led the Vipers to follow his visions. He trained new Witchers, which included some you might know, like Letho of Gullet or Colgrim. We don't know what happened to Ivar in the last few decades, but we can assume that he was still alive somewhere in the first half of the 13th century, as he had sent Colgrim to recover diagrams from around White Orchard. But while focused on the Wild Hunt, they seemed to kind of forget Nilfgaard. During the Usurper's expansion, he eventually came across the Viper's Keep, which resulted in the death of a great number of soldiers. The Witcher stronghold, however, eventually fell, and those that survived fled. A decent number of them started to cooperate with Nilfgaard, and they became the Kingslayers, led by Letho of Gullet. What happened to Ivar Evil-eye is unknown, but at some point before 1272, he passed away. He never saw the fall of the Wild Hunt, which he had worked all his life towards. Ivar Evil-eye might very well be of much more importance than you would at first think. It was he who was responsible for the Viper School, and their focus on the Wild Hunt. If he had never gotten his special eye, he might have remained with the School of the Bear. As a result, Geralt wouldn't have been able to trade himself for Yennefer under the Hanged Man's tree, which means that he wouldn't have been rescued from the hunt by Ciri, which means that the entire games wouldn't have taken place the way they did. Also, of course, if he didn't have his school on Imperial land, the Kingslayers might have never been a thing, and the Northern Realms would have stood stronger against Nilfgaard during the Third Northern War, as they were responsible for the death of Foltest. But what do you think of Ivar Evil-eye? Till the next video. Bye.